Hey friends, Ryan Smith here, the pastor at Common Thread Church. I hope you're having a good Monday, had a good weekend. Coming here, I'm out and it's sunny out here. If you're looking for a weather report, I'm here for you. It's sunny, it's hot, sitting in a car with no air conditioning going right there. I'm gonna start sweating just to let you know. But I want to kind of make an observation today and possibly give some ideas on how to address it. But I want to talk about communication. And it reminded me of that quote from the Cool Hand Luke movie a long time ago. You know, that what we have here is a failure to communicate. And what's so great about that quote is in that movie, the person that makes that is a warden, right? And he makes this comment. It's like we're not communicating well, but really he has no intention of communicating. What he really wants is just a one-way kind of communication where he speaks and the prisoner listens. And that's kind of what we have going on today, right? We have a lot of talking, but not much communication going on, right? And so a while back, Sarah and I went to a marriage seminar. This is a long time ago. But we learned this style of communication that has always stuck with me. I've shared with other people, and it's called drive-through communication. And so I'm sitting out here outside of Chick-fil-A, got my Chick-fil-A drink. I'm gonna need it here. And let's be honest, you know, there's no one else that does drive-through better than Chick-fil-A, you know, and so the idea here is what is the process going through? What do you go through when you go through a drive-through, right? So you pull up, just like they are in the back. You come up and they say, hey, how may I help you? And you tell them what you want, and then they repeat the order back, and then you drive through, pick up your order, pay for it, and you move on, right? And if it's all done well, it's an excellent model of communication. But there's one thing I want to talk about that's really important here in this model. And it's the idea that you repeat the order back, right? So when you go into the drive-through, you tell them what you want, and then any good operator of a drive-through is going to repeat the order back. And for us, with my family, it's so important because if we get a Chick-fil-A sandwich with the pickle on it, no one's going to eat it. If we go to McDonald's and we get a hamburger with the mayonnaise and mustard and all that other stuff on it, no one's going to eat it. And so it's important that we know what we're getting, right? And that's really the truth here, is this idea that you listen, you hear, and you're able to repeat back. And so in this drive-through model of communication, what they tell you is when you sit down with somebody, is that person gets to speak. And then before the other person can respond, the other person has to say back to the other person what they heard. So it sounded like, you know, something like, what I hear you saying is this. And before they can respond to what that first person said, the first person has to say, yes, that is what I said. But if that's not what the person said, then the first person has to repeat what they said, and then the other person has to respond back, this is what I heard you said. And not until the first two respond or agree on what was said can the second person respond. So it's this idea of hearing and understanding. And right, we don't have that going on, because usually what happens in communication is this is something I do a lot, is that when someone says something to you, instead of listening to them, you begin to formulate your response. You know, how am I going to get back at them? How am I going to, undermine what they're saying? What am I going to do to get my point across? And so in doing so, I fail to actually hear what they're trying to say to me. The other one is, and I think we see this a lot, is this idea of deflection, right? So we hear and we understand what they're saying, but instead of addressing it, what I'll normally do, or what somebody will do, is that we'll bring up another point of how they failed, right? You see this a lot in Facebook nowadays, or you see this in other places where someone will bring up a point, another side or something going on, and somebody else who is on the other side of the fence will bring up, well, yeah, but your group is doing this, right? A great example of this is the White House press secretary, right? The person who does all the press briefings these days, is that something will be brought up about the president, and then instead of her responding now, she will bring up a list of things that she knew that was going to come up, and she'll show where other people have failed in this as well. Now, if you were like me and think, well, wait a minute, other people have done it, other presidents have done this, absolutely. And you've just proven my point, right? Is that, so we immediately go to, hey, they do this, so it's okay for me to do this. But we're not really listening. And that is the idea of what goes on here, this idea that when we listen, that you need to hear and to understand, and you need to be able to repeat back what the people are saying before you can have true communication, before you can truly understand what's going on. Man, I'm sweating horribly in here. But I think this is something that we need to grasp onto, because I think God models this all throughout the Psalms. There's these conversations, and there's these statements where it says God hears the cries of the afflicted, that he hears the pains, that he listens. This idea, why does God need to listen? I mean, he knows what we think, he knows what's going on. He doesn't need to listen because he already knows. He knows what to say, he knows how to respond, he knows what to do. But there's this example of what it means to listen, right? And we see in James 1:19 where James says, hey, quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. That idea that listening, that hearing is so important. And doesn't this apply in so many different parts of our lives that are going right now? You know, you talk Republicans, Democrats, and the conversation, and truly listening to each other. We talk, you know, black, white. Right now we have so much racial tension going on right now, and so much talking back and forth, but is listening happening? You know, among our family members, between me and my kids, am I listening? And listening means, am I hearing? Am I understanding? So my challenge to you today, as you go about these conversations that you're having on Facebook or in person or wherever it is, that you model what it means to truly listen. And before you respond back, that you truly listen so that you can explain what you've heard, that you can speak back to the person what they've said, that you can say, you might not agree with them, but you can at least hear where they're coming from, and you can put into words the pain or the anger or the frustration that they are expressing. And not until you can do that do you give yourself permission to respond. So that's the challenge for today, that we be people who listen as God listens, that we be people who are quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to anger, that we model what it's like to communicate well, and communication begins with listening. Hope you have a great day. Grace and peace.